interest and feel more confident on how to do this. Now, in terms of differences, yeah, the majority of you think that it's very different to teach skills online than face-to-face. Myths and facts about that, we will discuss it, but we'll see that probably it's not as difficult or as different as we might think it is. It's just that we probably need to rewire our brain in terms of how to work with the skills. And last but not least, do you teach skills with your coursebooks or your coursebook material with online resources? And good, most of you do a blend of both of them, and that's fantastic, because I think that's what we should do. Okay, even like in the classroom, right? It shouldn't be 100% book-based or 100% material that comes to students out of the blue. So let's get the party started. As I said, the agenda for today has mainly two focuses. We are going to be talking about the advantages of online teaching, okay, for each of the 4 language skills. As you can see, I'm just focusing on the advantages, don't want to be negative, okay? We will not talk about the disadvantages because you might already know that. And then we will look into possible activities to implement in the course, using both your coursebook material or either or online resources. All right. So let's start with reading. Okay, and in order to start with reading, I have here some true or false statements. I would like you to take some minutes and read the statements and try to think what the answer is, whether it's right or whether this is wrong, whether it's true, whether it's false. Okay, there's 6 brief statements, and it's for you to have an opportunity to start reflecting about this. So number 1 says the structure of reading lesson is different in an online lesson. Number 2 says whether learners do the reading task in the lesson or for homework depends only on their age. Number 3, young learners are more likely to read texts in the lesson. Number 4, if the lesson focus is reading for specific information, the learners can do the reading in class. Now, number 5 says if the lesson focus is reading for detailed information, the learners can do the reading for homework. And 6, it says when learners read the text for homework, the next lesson can focus on checking the learner's understanding and follow-up work. So those are the 6 statements that I have for you. And let's start discussing them. Okay, so the structure of a reading lesson is different in an online lesson. Is that correct or incorrect? And that is incorrect, actually. The structure of a reading lesson is the same whether you are teaching it face-to-face or whether you are teaching it online. The way we know how to work with reading applies to every single scenario. So we know that you would have your pre-reading, you would have your while reading, and then you would have your after or your follow-up or your post-reading activity. So the scheme of work would be exactly the same, all right? So if we are going to present students with a text, we need to make sure that we do some pre-work with that. It can be at the level of the strategies or it can be at the level of lexis. I mean, it's up to you. Then you would concentrate on the reading in itself with the activities. And finally, you will need to do a follow-up that could be a piece of writing, could be listening, could be connecting it to some listening text. But the sequence is the same. So that's one thing we need to remember. This is not about learning how to teach again, okay? The way we know that languages are acquired is the way we should keep on is what we should keep on doing, even if it is online. All right. The other one said, whether learners do the reading task in the lesson or for homework depends only on their age. And this is false, okay? Sometimes teachers, I may have primary school teachers or elementary school teachers here, and they might think that all the reading needs to be done online in the lesson with them. And that is true. The little ones, especially 6 years old, 7 years old, are starting in the decoding process of text. They will need our help, so it will be very difficult for them to do reading outside the lesson. And when I say lesson, remember I'm saying at the moment in which we all connect, okay? In online lessons are lessons in which at some point we have the opportunity to connect with our students. As you know, we have the synchronous and the asynchronous, the synchronic and the asynchronic type of learning online, meaning whether we are together online or whether they are working on their own the computer. And I assume that all of you are trying the best of your power to try to have some minutes with them during the week, at least online, whenever possible. And if that happens, that's a good opportunity to work with reading with the little ones. Now, with the other ones, okay, the not so little ones, doing reading on the platform online is literally a waste of time, okay? Once the kids know how to read, it's a waste of time unless you want to practice something specific, okay? But if it's not something specific, if it's not that you're teaching them a strategy or a sub-skill or something, it's better that they do it on their own, and then you use the synchronic moment of the instruction for exploiting the activity, discussing the answers, and do the follow-up. Okay, let's remember that students, most of our students, whether they are children, teenagers, or adults, they are used to seeing the computer not as a tool to work, but mainly as a tool for enjoyment or recreational purposes. So we really need to try to respect that somehow, okay? Because we need to be aware that in these days, we are somehow invading their privacy, all right? Then, number 3, young learners are more likely to read texts in the lesson. As I said before, this is true. My piece of advice is that even up to the age of 8, try to read the text with them, all right? All this is already frightening enough for them, so as on top of that to have to cope with the load of reading a text on their own. So with the little ones, let's try to respect that. Now, if the lesson, number 4 says, if the lesson focus is reading for specific information, the learners can do the reading in class. And the answer, of course, is yes. And this is one of the examples that I said in which if you're working with the text for something specific, then that's a good opportunity for reading in class. But if it's something general, if it's not that you're really trying to teach a reading strategy at that moment, don't ask them to read the text. And number 5 says, if the lesson focus is reading for detailed information, the learners can do reading for homework. And here the answer is correct, okay? When it's detailed information, such as, like, for example, spotting the reference, okay, what does it refers to in this sentence? Or what is the author's intention, or this or that? All that very detailed information, that will take lots of time for them to read, and it's not something that needs to be done in class with you, okay? Don't waste your time there. Something that I think, Jimena, we didn't say this, but all this session is being recorded, and then you can contact your Richmond rep, and they will share the recording with you. So don't worry about recordings at all, okay? Just that announcement. And let's go back. Number 6, it says, when learners read a text for homework, the next lesson can focus on checking the learner's understanding and follow-up work. And of course, the answer here is yes, okay? That's the idea. So we can do some pre-reading, okay, with them. That pre-reading can be in a synchronic or asynchronic format. That is up to you. I know some of you probably can really teach your lessons fully online, meaning they are with you on a platform using Zoom, Skype, whatever. I know that some of you are really finding that very difficult, so you need to try to teach everything as asynchronic as possible. If that's your case, then do the pre-reading with asynchronic activities. Do the while reading if it's not reading for specific information, if it is general reading, if it is detailed information, or if it is reading extensively, do it asynchronically as well. And just use the synchronic moments for the follow-up, which can be the rich moments for interaction. So in terms of advantages, okay, for reading online, I think one of the main advantages is the wide variety of materials that is available online. We all have our course books, and we need to use our course books. And probably you're in this situation in which mommy, daddy, or the adult bought its material and they want to use the book, and it's fantastic. And we really need the books as teachers because they are like a gasp of air for us, right? It's like there is a moment we cannot keep producing materials 24/7. I mean, looking for materials is lots of time that we're investing. Once we find the material, designing the activities, it's lots of time. And then we need the time to teach, and then we need the time to correct and look back into the same process. So that's why it's good to have a book. You have to use a book, use the material. That's why the authors already did all the work for us. What we have to do is, in this moment more than ever, to enrich that material with the wide diversity of materials that we have online. And I think teaching reading online has this advantage of all the texts that are available, okay? The other advantage is that content is constantly updated. And sometimes probably it has happened to you. You're teaching with your course book and it talks about, I don't know, you're reading a biography and it says that the person has 1, 2, 3 children, and you know that at the moment that person has more children, and it's because the book was published 3 years before or something like that. So the good thing about this is that if you can read the text that you have in your book and you can give them another text online and they can do comparative analysis, okay, and they can enrich and you can work with Venn diagrams, etc. Okay, so the material online is fully updated and I love that, okay. The other thing is the variety of text types that we have, okay. Sometimes in books we have stories, we have articles, we have novels, but here you can have stories, articles, but you can also have blogs. You can work with posts, with wikis. So we can really teach our students about a wider typology of texts. The other thing is that learners are more used to reading online than from print books these days, okay? It's not very common to see kids carrying print books nowadays. What we can see is them reading, I don't know, their favorite websites online. They might be using ebooks, but mostly what they read is text messages, tweets, Instagram. Well, Instagram, yeah, you can read something, but they mainly read in social media. So they are used to reading from the screen than from the page. Okay, and another advantage I think that exists is that reading online can be used for intensive or extensive purposes. Okay, and I think that's great. There are so many texts, especially stories and this, that they can read, and if you start being careful, probably they are reading a bit more now than what they used to be reading. But let's start with the practice activities. And for the first one is a reading race. Let's imagine I have this page from a book, okay? And this book is about, information about an island, okay? It's Takai's Island, okay? We don't know what the Takai's Island is, but we can, let's say that we are doing some pre-reading activities, okay? And that we are working in a synchronic way. So we can do a reading race. And for the reading race, what we do is we try to prepare a set of general knowledge questions to give to students, okay? So, for example, we can ask them, how many islands are there in the world? Where is the Polynesia? And which is the largest island in the Polynesia? And how far is, I don't know, your home country from the Polynesia? And who discovered the Polynesian islands? Okay, and you can start writing the questions in your chat room, okay? So you use the chat room and you present one question at a time. And what they have to do is they need to go online and start researching on the spot, okay? And the first one who has the answer types it back in the chat room or copies and pastes, okay? And it's an active way of expanding the reading. So they, instead of reading these texts with you, you can ask them to read the text from the book when they are not online. But with you, they practice something that is more interactive. Okay, you activate general knowledge, and at the same time, you keep them motivated. And we know that games are fantastic, and they always keep them going. So this is a good way of working at the pre-reading level in a synchronic way, for example. Okay, what you can do as a follow-up, you can allow students then to prepare 2 or 3 general questions. Okay, so they have to prepare their own general questions, and they take turns and they write the questions in the chat room, and the class, including you, let's forget that you're also learning. They find it cool when they see us being part of the activity. Okay, also you, go online and try to get the answer. Okay, and at the same time, this is an opportunity to help them read more and become a bit more of a researcher when it comes to reading. So that's one reading activity that I think is really cool and that helps us integrate the book and the online resources. The other one is called 5 Clicks Away. 5 Clicks Away, to do this activity, what you need to do is you need to find a website that has many links, okay? So, for example, I think that websites from newspapers are fantastic because, as you can see, there are many, many links with the types of news that are available, etc. But I chose this website. You can choose any other website, okay? Or they can choose their own websites as well, okay? What you're going to ask them is you're going to ask them to enter a website and click 5 times, okay? So they need to click 5 different links. Once they reach the 5th link, they need to take a screenshot of that link. Okay, just as I did here. Of course, I didn't click 5 times. I just this is the main website. This is the landing page. But once students got the screenshot from that website, what they're going to ask them is that on their platform, and I don't know, you may be using Schoology, you may be using Google Classroom, you may be using a model, you may be using the platform from your publisher. For example, the Richmond Learning platform, which I think is the best one. But you can use any platform, okay, that you're using to keep in touch with your students. And what students need to do is they're going to write a short summary of the content that they found there. So this is a great activity to integrate reading and writing at the same time, and also for us to learn about our students' interests, which I think is fantastic, because sometimes we look for the material, but that material might not be very interesting for students. So when they find, when we do an activity like this, then we get an idea of what type of websites they like surfing, okay, and where we can get information from. So again, I'm a strong believer that skills should be integrated, and I think this is a cool activity for students to integrate reading and writing and to personalize reading. And this is also fantastic for extensive reading purposes. Then the other activity is BlogLog. Okay, for BlogLog, what you need is you need to get your students to choose a blog of their choice for some time. Okay, so for example, here is a website, okay, that has the 50 best blogs in the world. I think it's a website that you can recommend to your students if they are not bloggers, but they can look for any website that they want. The thing here is that they need to choose a blog. And this is, again, this would be more for extensive reading purposes in the long period, okay? And what you're going to ask them is you're going to ask them to make a blog log for learners to complete. So you're going to create, for example, this blog log, and they need to complete their name. They need to write the name, the blog's name. They need to write the address of that blog. They need to tell us what the blog is about. They need to tell us which entries they have read. Okay, they simply cut and paste the links, okay, or the addresses. Okay, and then what they need to do is they need, for each of the titles, for each of the entries, okay, that they write the link, they need to write a reaction, whether they liked it or they didn't like it, whether it was interesting, and if so, why it was interesting, okay? And finally, they need to write an overall summary, okay, of that blog. And after the summary, they need to write whether they would recommend the blog to others or not. Once they do that, once they complete the blog, they need to share it again in the forum of your class, okay? And this is something that can be done weekly, or it can be done every 2 weeks, okay? This is up to you, depending on the level of your students, okay? If it's not a blog, you can probably do this with YouTube channels, let's say. But the idea here is for reading purposes. I would do this something similar for listening purposes with YouTube channels. But I think having a log is something useful. And again, the cool thing is that it will give us an insight into what our students are into at the moment of reading or listening, okay? I see some people are writing in the chat room. Okay, if I can share this information by email. Of course, I will share the PowerPoint with my colleagues at Richmond, and when they send you the video, they can send you the PowerPoint. But anyway, you would have the PowerPoint here in the presentation as well. So probably that will be easier for you. The other reading activity is short stories. And we cannot talk about reading if we don't talk about stories. Now, the thing is, reading, as I said, for students is mainly at the message level. So the 140 characters rule, I think, even though Twitter does not follow it anymore, but I think it applies to most students these days. They don't like reading extensively. So there is something that I love and always use is short stories, okay? So what you can do is you can choose a short story, okay? And you can copy it into the forum in your platform, and then you can write a short review next to it. You write the review, not the students. You write the review, okay, of the stories. Why are you going to write the review? Because it will be a model for what's coming next. Now, there are websites with short stories. You don't need to go and look for short stories in a book or something. Some of the books may already have the short stories, and you can use that as a stepping stone. But if your students don't have a book, you can use, for example, this website for short stories, or this other website, or these other websites. You go to Google, and there are many websites that have lots and lots of short stories already designed. And some of them are 25-word stories or 50-word stories, okay? So you can choose. Some of them are recommended, are graded by genre. Some of them are recommended for because of the students' ages. So you choose what type of story. It's very easy for you. But the idea is that, remember, you're just going to choose one story, and you're going to write the review. Once you did that and you posted it, you're going to get students to read the story and to comment on it and your review. So, for example, they're going to say, well, I think the story is kind of creepy, or wow, I really love the message behind the story. I don't think the review is fair. The review says that this is a story for children, but I'm an adult, and I think that this story also has a message for me, for example, this and this and that, okay? So they need to interact with your choice and your production. Once you have that, you would ask students now to go and to choose their own story. And they need to write at least a 25-word long review to share with the classroom. 25-word long is a paragraph, literally. It's not that you're writing a lot. And that is as much as they are used to writing on the internet, in blogs or in forums or whatever, okay? So I think that that's a good start, especially with the little ones. With the older ones, you can expand it to 50-word or 70-word or 100 words. But let's also remember that 100 words is a lot. It's like a B1 level, B1 plus, okay? So remember the level of your students, okay? But this is something cool. And what you're going to do is then students are going to work with that material that their classmates found. And they are going to read the stories. They are going to select 1 or 2 stories to read and to comment on the review. As you can see, this is something that I always did as a teacher, is to let my students work for me, okay? And why? Not because I'm lazy. It's because when it comes to choices, they are the ones who better know what they like and what they don't like. And when they have to choose material and when they have to produce text, they really work at a higher level than what we probably would demand from them, because we teachers sometimes are very patronizing in that sense. So I really encourage you to do these kind of activities online in which you trigger it, but the bulk of all the research is done from students. And with that, you keep working and you expand it, okay? And in the process, we get to live a life that, as I always say, it's very important for us teachers. The other activity I wanted to share, I just selected some activities, okay, because I could keep talking about more and more activities, but I tried to select 4 or 5 activities for each skills because I only have 1 hour for this presentation. Is a jigsaw task, and we have always worked with jigsaw reading and this and that. So how can we do this online? Let's imagine we were talking about stories, and I said text course books have stories. Let's work now with a story from the book, okay, or from a website. Again, it's up to you. For example, I got this primary book. You're going to see that I chose books from different levels, huh? So remember, you can apply this to any age group. So this is a book for more or less 7-year-old students. And this story is actually a comic, okay? And I know that my little ones can read only at this level. And I need to maximize this. So I'm going to give them this page, or I'm going to choose a story. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get students into groups and ask them to read the story. Now, how do I get students in groups? There are different things. If you're using Zoom, which I love using, there is a function in Zoom that is called breakout rooms. And in breakout rooms, you can group them into different subgroups. And that's if you're doing this in a synchronic way. If you're doing it asynchronically, what I would recommend you is that you form groups and you ask them to work through email or through WhatsApp, etc., etc. What will that depend on? The ages of your students, again. If they are little ones, I would really recommend doing this activity synchronically, okay? So anyway, you're going to get them into groups, and then you're going to create a different task for each group, okay? That different task can be, I don't know, some students are going to read for this, some students are going to read for that, etc., etc., okay? And this is fantastic if you have different abilities in the group, okay? You can assign the type of activity depending on the level of students. When they finish, you ask them to report the results in the forum or orally in the meeting, okay? So if it is synchronically, they would all share the activity. They would all share the results. If it is asynchronically, they would write the results. Now, if it is asynchronically and you don't want them to write, because as we saw, listening and reading were the skills that you felt more confident at the moment, or that the ones that you were doing a lot online. This is a way to get them writing. But if you want to keep on working with students' production, but from a spoken form, I would highly recommend, and I'm a fan of cell phones in the classroom, and now that school authorities cannot forbid them from us, they can record short videos and to present the results of their activity, and that can be your source of input in order to assess your students' oral production. So again, remember, and what they do is they upload the videos. If they don't upload the videos on the platform because you don't want the video to be out in public in a platform because the students are young or whatever, what you are going to do is you're going to ask them to send it to you by email. If it is mommy and daddy can send them to you by email. And why are you going to allow this? Because this is a group activity, okay? So it's not that you will need to watch 300 videos in 1 week, okay? It's a group of students recorded one video. And what you're going to do is, okay, this week, this member of the group is going to record the video. Next week, the other member, and so on and so forth. So that every single week you can have an idea of how each student is performing orally, but at the same time, you don't need to spend the entire weekend watching short segments of videos, okay? So that's, those were 5 activities I selected for reading. Now, writing, advantages of doing writing online. I think that one of the advantages is that activities can be book or internet-based, again, and can be done while in class or after it. While in class, if you work with Google Docs, for example, they can all be writing collaboratively, etc. By the way, there was a fantastic webinar from one of our colleagues on tools to use online. You can watch that webinar, ask your rep for it, and I think there is a repetition coming up because it was a very popular session as well. He might be able to tell us about it when that repetition will take place.
It happened this morning. Sorry.
Oh, okay. But they can ask their reps for the session recorded. Okay.
Absolutely.
So again, you can do this online or offline. Okay. Again, there is a wide range of sites where students can upload their work. It can be your own platform. It can be a blog. You can create your own blog. It can be wikis. I mean, you name it. All right. And if you not very techy, which I think is what has happened to all of us. We have discovered how illiterate we all are when it comes to technology. I was telling some of my colleagues for the last 20, 25 years, we have been talking about technology and we thought we knew it all until COVID came, slapped us and showed us that we really have a lot to learn. So if you are just like me in this learning mode, what you can do is simply use the forum in your platform, okay? Again, they can produce any kind of text, okay, in terms of length, and they can publish. You can publish students' work online, and that can be very motivating for them. And why do I say this? Because we ask students to go on to read from blogs, but why isn't the world reading what our students are producing? So I think it's really cool if you can have your class blog, and if students can start producing once you proofread all the material and everything, and you know that it's ready for publication, so that everybody can go and read, okay? And if you're talking about the environment, if you're talking about health, whatever, and someone looks for that, okay, they can find the input from your students, okay? Okay, as I said, there are some tools that really lend themselves to this, like blogging or Google Docs. Okay, so activities. So your picture, my story. This is the name of this activity. And the first thing you're going to do here is you're going to get students to look for a striking picture to tell a story and post them in the forum of your class, okay? Or it can be in your class blog if you have a class blog, okay? Whether you have it. And what they need to do is they also need to write the theme, okay? So they choose a picture and they write sports, health, horror, whatever. They need to write the theme. Now, this can be done with any picture that they find, or it can be done with a picture that they found in their book. And the magical thing, is that they shouldn't say the page number, okay? So the idea is that they also play with their books at home, okay? So it's up to you. If you don't want them to be Googling for images because you never know what they can find, you can ask them, find a book in the book that you like and post it together with a theme, okay? So once you have a selection of pictures, and again, this is get the students to work for you while you get to rest during the weekend. So they do the work, they do the research, they look for the pictures, they think of the topics. And they upload all of them on the platform. What you're going to do is you're going to assign a picture to every single of your students, okay? So now every single student has a different picture selected by a classmate together with a theme. And you're going to ask them to write a story. And why are we writing a story? Because in my book, in this unit, I need to write a story. So we were working with story writing. But I don't want to do the activity in the book because it all becomes too dense, okay? It's like using the book and writing the book. Let's try to get out from the book and do this. So they're going to write the story using the diagram with all the explanation of how to write the story, the stages, the type of paragraphs, etc., etc. They have the guidance there. They write the story. And once you have the stories, okay, what you can do they're going to write the stories using instructions. And once you have the stories, this is up to you. You can go and correct the stories immediately, or what you're going to do is you're going to return the story, the picture to the original owner. And what they need to do is they need to read and then write a message to the writer of the story saying, like, wow, this is interesting. I didn't have this in mind. In my mind, I had this idea. Or, yeah, we agreed. I also pictured this, and this, and they need to quote which information from the original story is similar to the ones that they had thought of. So this is an opportunity to really make writing not so academic in the sense that everything is for a mark, but also you're integrating reading, you're working with students' motivation, And it's not that initial motivation that they selected a picture and a theme, then vanish because you killed it because somebody else is using it. No, that person receives and sees like, wow, are we thinking alike or not? And this is a great opportunity also for class members to get to know each other a bit better, let's say. Then there is another one that here is some instructions that you can give to the students. I had forgotten that I created instructions. So you can tell them, okay, look at the picture and imagine you were, okay, there, what happened, etc., etc. You can tell them how many words you want them to write in the stories. You can tell them what they need to include, for example, where you were, who you were with, what you saw, what you did, okay, all that. Then you can tell them that they need to proofread the story and that they need to post it with a picture and to answer questions from the classmates or to share it with your own classmates, okay? So you can always give them a protocol with all the instructions of what to do. I think something you have probably all discovered is that when you work online, everything needs to be crystal clear. And this is why I'm trying to show you here how to give the instructions, okay? It needs to be really word by word, what is it that you want, first stage, second stage, etc., etc. If not, teaching online becomes a nightmare. And I'm not going to tell you about this because I know you are already probably experiencing it. The other activity is the anti-protocols, and I'm kind of a rebel. That's why I always love these activities. And this is an activity that especially, I wouldn't recommend this activity for the little ones, probably with the very little ones, because they might not fully get it. But of course, this depends on groups and students. But teenagers that they love being against everything, or adults that we sometimes love being against everything, this is a great, cool activity, especially to activate high levels of thinking. What you're going to do is you're going to ask students, or you're going to get them in pairs, this is up to you, or trios, and you are going to ask them to think of what things not to do for something. Once they do that, you're going to ask them to write an anti-protocol with at least 5 recommendations and share them with the class in the forum or your class blog. Again, imagining that you created a class blog. Okay, so for example, just in order to clarify this, what to do if you have a computer problem. Now remember, this is not a protocol, this is an anti-protocol. So what to do if you have a computer problem? First of all, panic, which we know that that's not what we should do, but panic. Think that you have lost everything, that we know that that's not what we have to think. Do not ask for help, okay, which we know that we have to do. Shout at your computer and hit the keyboard desperately. Okay, I could have written there desperately, okay? Throw your computer away and buy a new one, okay? So these are actually 5 things we shouldn't do, but it's the anti-protocol. And this is something cool, this is different. It goes against the norm, okay? We generally ask students to produce the very predictable thing. Let's ask them to write the not so predictable thing so that they can be very crazy and they can get really creative, okay? Then you can get students to add one more to the list of the anti-protocol that our students created. Okay, they can read it. It's like, oh, when you have a computer problem, I don't know, I thought those 5s. You can also say, okay, put it under the water and see if it cools down the computer. I don't know. Okay, you can ask them to add one more element to the list. Okay, to any of their classmates' protocols. Here are some other possible topics I thought that could be cool for them to write. The first one, of course, is how to improve your English. This is something students are always trying to look an answer for, okay? How can I improve my English? Okay, so ask them to write what not to do, okay? ways that will not help them to improve their English, so that they can really, oh, I should definitely stop doing this, okay? How to study for a test, or how to have fun on a Friday night in your town, or how to do well in a job interview if you're teaching adults, how to be organized, okay? Some students have problems with that, okay? Good. I need to rush up because I'm running out of time. I'd like some information. This is the other activity I have for you. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to, again, get students in pairs, or you're going to assign each of them a role. Remember, the pairing can be asynchronically. This is something that they can be working while they are not connected with you. So, for example, student A, you're a travel agent. Student B, you would like information about tourist information. This is a typical thing that appears in books, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to ask them to write a text. This can be done interactively through email, through Google Docs, okay? Or, I don't know, through messaging on your platform, okay? And you're going to ask students to share the conversation with you. Why did I choose this activity to share with you today? Because I think this is a type of writing our students are used to doing, the message thing, okay? Something to make it cooler is to use the fake WhatsApp creator, okay? And you can ask them to give you a WhatsApp image instead of giving you the text, to give you a WhatsApp image of the conversation. So one is the travel agent and the other is the tourist, okay? So there I created one, okay? There are multiple fake WhatsApp creators online. For example, you have this fakewhatsapp.com/generator, okay? And they can create, and they change colors depending on who is talking. So this is fantastic also for them to organize the conversation text format, and it's also very real life-like. Now, if they are adults, what they can do, instead of using the creator, they can actually have the conversation through their phones in WhatsApp, and then they just take screenshots of their phones and they send you the phone. But if they are kids and they don't have phones, that's a cool activity to do. The other one is what's the story? In this one, again, you're going to get students to think of a story. They can do this individually or in groups, okay? Now, in order to create a story, you can select pictures and images from your book, actually, okay? As I did here. This is an activity, and actually, as you can see, this comes from a grammar exercise in my book, but I'm not using it for grammar. But I think I can create a story with this or not, okay? So they need to think of a story, okay? And you're going to ask them to write the story in dialogue format, okay? Once they have the dialogues, you're going to get students to illustrate the story, okay? And this is fantastic, especially for the little ones that love drawing. And the little ones that probably are writing at the word level or phrase level, comics are fantastic. Now, for the not that little ones, the comic is also really cool because the graphic novel is a genre that is very popular now. Now, what happens if students are as dumb as I am when it comes to drawing? I always found this website really cool. This is a website in which you can create your own comics. So you look for different scenarios, okay? It can be a city, it can be a shop, it can be the park, it can be the part of a house, etc. And you can add as many scenes as you want. You can create the characters. How many characters do you want? If they want to be seated down, or if you want them to be standing up, hands, arms up in the air, arms down, facing each other. Not. I mean, it's fantastic. Students can spend hours here, and they type their text. And once they finish, they can download a PDF. Now, the free version of this will have the watermark with that says storyboard.com. I really don't care about it, but if you really care about it, what you can do is you can always screenshot, and they screenshot the story from the website itself, and then they put it in a Word document or something. But I think the PDF works wonderfully because it's not that the watermark covers the text, okay? It's in a very light gray shade. So it's fantastic. And this is a cool way for students to really bring their stories alive. And another adaptation that you can have for this is that they can write an entire story, not in comic format. And once they finish that, you can tell them, okay, now write it in dialogue format, okay? So if you're practicing direct and indirect speech, for example, it's beautiful, okay? It's a cool way to blend things as you're teaching skills. The other one is fake. That's fake news, and I love this activity because we are in times where fake news are everywhere. So what you're going to do is you're going to ask students to write a news article based on a text from your course book or a reversion of your local newspaper news, okay, or a website, etc., with wrong information, okay? So you're going to ask students to create an article together with one or two more true stories, okay? So here is just to give you an idea. There are these websites that I like, which are websites that really create a newspaper. So when you look, as you can see the pictures, when you look at it, it really looks like a news story. So you're going to ask them to write an article, okay, with something that is not right, okay, and it's about their country or the world or whatever. And they're going to then put on the page from that newspaper other stories that they simply copied and pasted from another website. They are accurate stories. What you have to do is students share that with the class, and they need to spot which is the fake news that appears on every single newspaper. And this is really cool because, again, you're integrating reading and writing at the same time. Of course, this can have many adaptations. You can also have, but I'm going to use that strategy for something else, but for another skill. But you can, instead of being a fake news, it can be a fake line on the news, okay? So it can be one article, but they change some information in the article to make it fake, okay? I think students love all this rebellious thing, okay? Good, fantastic. Woof, I feel like Speedy Gonzalez here, running. Listening, activities for practicing listening. I know you're doing lots of listening. Basically, 3 advantages. I think that materials are up to date online, and there is lots of material for audio work online, so please benefit from that. You can also find authentic materials as well as ELT related materials, because there are podcasts for ELT learners, and you can generate activities that promote more extensive listening. And if you really start paying attention, actually probably now your students may be listening to more English than what they listened in the classroom, okay? And of course you can, because now everything is digital, you can upload all the audios from the books and work with them. One of the things that I wanted to clarify is online listening, okay? That this activity, I don't know if it is really an activity, but it's try to go online and select appropriate listening activities from any of the multiple websites that exist in English. I mean, Richmond in its platforms has lots of listening activities, okay, that are already designed there with the audience at the level that self-correct. So that, as you know, is fantastic. What you're going to do, if you're not going to use your platform, you're going to ask students to solve the activity online and share the answers through private message. If the platform that you found with this listening activity does not give you the answers, okay? Probably it's a website that gives the student the answers, but of course it doesn't have a mark book, so you don't get to know the answers. So you can ask students, okay, share the answers with me, and I will also keep track of your marks. But again, with all the platforms, we can create tasks for true or false, for fill in the blanks, for multiple choice, and use the audio materials that come with the books. Okay, and you can adapt the activities. Don't do the same activities that appear in the book, remember, because that's something that they can do at home, listening to the course book audio. What you can do is, okay, let's listen to the audio again, but now with this activity, and you can adapt the activity. The other cool thing, again, is, okay, listen to the audio, answer the questions, okay, then you correct, and you can ask them to go and to listen to the audio again and to design a different activity. I don't know, 3, 4 multiple choice, or true or false, or fill in the blanks, that they use the audio material to create more activities. And again, we get to live a life, which I think is very important. Okay, now, my favorite podcast. This is an activity in which you're going to share the instructions with students through the forum. For example, you're going to ask them, okay, listen to at least 3 podcasts. They need to choose one, okay? And they need to complete this description, okay? They need to give us the link. They need to give us the topic of the podcast. They need to tell us why they liked it. And they need to tell us how often a new podcast is produced there. This is kind of, as you can see, similar to the reading activity I presented. And the reason is because reading and listening, because they are productive skills, you can really use activities for reading. You can adapt them for listening, and the other way around. Anyway, once they posted that comment, okay, they post all this information in the class forum, and then they listen to at least 2 podcasts from classmates and comment on them. Okay, so those are the instructions. Okay, and once students completed the task, you will ask them to read and to comment on at least 2 podcasts of their classmates, and students should listen to at least 3 episodes per month. Or per week, I don't know, depending on how often the website keeps uploading podcasts. But this is an activity that I think is really cool for extensive listening, and which really helps students. I know I'm running out of time. Some people are raising their hands. Remember, I will answer all the questions at the end. I swear to God, I don't care if it takes me 2 more hours.
Yeah, Nico, that's what I was going to tell you. Take your time. Don't worry.
Okay.
Questions in the chat room so far don't really have to do with your content. It's other technical questions that I can address. So
Okay.
take your time, take a deep breath, and move forward. Don't worry.
Thank you. Yeah, the thing is that there are so many things to do that I don't know. I have many activities, and I thought that it was going to take shorter, really. Anyway, here is a selection of some websites with podcasts that I always used as a teacher, which I think could be of use to use. Okay, like Breaking News English, China 232, ELT Podcast, okay, English Conversations, ELT Business News if you teach business English, okay, ESL Pod, okay, or podcasts in English. Again, this is a tiny micro selection I did. There are a lot more websites out there that you can really suggest to your students. And the cool thing about these websites is that they have everything organized by level. The other thing that I highly recommend, and there was a session last week on English Attack. That's a platform that probably, if you are working with Richmond, they may have told you about. And it's a platform that you have thousands of short video segments already with activities and organized by levels, by topic. I call it the Netflix for ELT with YouTube segment videos. It's a fantastic website. So if you want to learn more about it, contact your Richmond local rep, and this could also website can also help you to practice listening activities. Now, the other activity is What's My Line, and this is kind of like in the show, right? You're going to ask students to look for 2 film trailers. Okay, there are many websites, okay, that daily, I would say, post all the trailers of new films. Of course, now with COVID, I don't know if this is happening as often. But one of the websites I used a lot is the one for Apple. Okay, from Apple, sorry, the iTunes, so the trailers.apple.com. Okay, and the other one is a Yahoo entertainment.com/entertainment/movies, and there you have lots of trailers. I mean, lots meaning all the trailers from, I think, all the movies. Okay, and you can select some trailers, or you can ask students to select their own trailers. I'm really into asking students to do, because as you may have detected, I really like to use my time, my family time for my family, okay, and get students to work. So let's say students look for 2 film trailers, and you're going to ask them to write 2 lines from it and to make up one. So in all the trailers, the cool thing about trailers is that dialogues are very short, okay? So you're going to ask them to listen carefully, so it's very intensive listening, because they literally need to transcribe 2 lines that they heard, and then they need to invent 1 line that is not there, is not said. Once they have that, their students are going to post their activity in your class forum, okay? So once they have the activity, they are going to post the link to the trailer, and they're going to post the 3 lines. What students have to do is students need to watch the trailers, and they need to detect which is the made up line, okay, for each of the trailers. This is a cool activity, again, because students feel that their material, their creation was not just for assessment purposes, it was for their classmates also to work. They love finding the mistakes, they love spotting things, okay? And they are working a lot on things that they are really interested in. So this activity has always really worked for me, and I highly recommend it, and it's like a treasure hunt with movies, and it's a great activity to ask students to listen for detailed information. Spot the difference is very similar, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to select a news story, okay? And you're going to copy the news in your platform forum, okay? Again, you can use senior moment. You're going to select the news from a local newspaper, if they write in English, or any of traditional newspapers, or you can use any of the websites that you detected they really like reading, from the 5-click away reading activity. Okay, again, this is up to you. The thing is, you're going to choose one of the texts, okay, and you're going to copy the original version on the platform. Then you're going to record yourself retelling the story, okay? But you're going to make some changes in the audio format. So this is like, you know how news programs, you can watch the news on TV, but then those news channels also have their website. And sometimes the information is not quite exactly the same, because on the website they may have updated with new figures or whatever. So the cool thing is that, first of all, they will be able to listen to you if you're working asynchronically. This is a way for them to also get to listen to you speaking in English. And you're going to ask them to read the text, read the original written version, and read your version. And again, spot the difference. This is kind of like what you ask them to do with the trailers, but they creating the different information, the different lines, sorry. In this case, is you creating the different information. Now, If you're teaching advanced learners and you really want to practice, to check their speaking ability, instead of you creating the listening recording, you can ask them to record themselves and with the new adaptations of the story. So these are an opportunity for them to practice listening when they listen to the recording that you created or their classmates created. But if you ask them to record themselves, also it's an opportunity for you to assess at least their speaking activity, their speaking ability at the level of intonation, pronunciation, word stress, phonemes, etc., etc. Okay, it's not at the level of interaction, but you can really assess speaking performance in those levels. Okay, 3 skills already have gone by. We have the last one, speaking, which is a skill that some teachers find it difficult to implement if they cannot teach synchronically. In terms of advantages, students can practice speaking skills with the teacher or with students at any time during class or after it. And I think this is really cool because now with mobiles, they can record themselves using WhatsApp, or they can use a computer and record themselves with their video cameras. I mean, there are multiple opportunities in which we can really see them speaking, even if it's not at the moment in class when they are with us. The other cool thing is that you can bring a guest. Now, the cool thing is that if you have a friend in Australia or South Africa or whatever, now they can be in your class without having to pay for a plane ticket. So you can use Skype, you can use Zoom, and you can, together with the platform that you're using, and you can help students to practice speaking with a native speaker, for example, if you really believe that from time to time it's good that they have contact with native speakers. Okay, so let's not forget about that, because the good thing about COVID and online speaking instructions is that we can do it easily. You can closely monitor students speaking and give them more specific feedback, okay, than in a regular class-to-class. Because if they record the videos, and I really know we will not have enough time to watch 300 videos during the weekend. But if you do it weekly, okay, this week you record yourself, this week you record yourself, you can really get to give them more accurate feedback. If you're working with Zoom and breakout rooms, I say Zoom and breakout rooms because that's what I use a lot. It's fantastic. You can really do a very nice work with them giving feedback. And again, it's an opportunity for them to practice a lot, okay? And I think that because they will be recording themselves so much either through videos or MP3s, because they recorded through WhatsApp or whatever, a piece of audio, or using their voice notes on the cell phone, you can now have a speaking portfolio. We were so used to having the writing portfolios, but now we can have speaking portfolios. And during all these months, they can see their progression, okay, of how their speaking performance has improved. And you can ask them, okay, record yourself, check this and this and this word in terms of pronunciation, this word in terms of this and that, okay? And they can have version 1, version 2, version 3 of their listening, of their recordings. So try to work into the speaking portfolio because it really helps a lot. Activities. One of the activities is the class lecturer. And we know that some students love lecturing. They love talking and blah, 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 blah. So one of the things I like doing when I teach online is to get students to record themselves lecturing on any specific topic. Okay, lecturing is a speaking skill. Again, as I said, it's not for us to assess interactive communication, but the lecturing is a skill that in terms of speaking should be developed. I'm lecturing at this moment. And so what you can do is, okay, they write everything, any of the stories that they wrote for writing, any of the articles, whatever, that they of the readings that they found for reading. They can use that same input to record themselves, okay, and practice their speaking, okay. If they can also choose a topic of their own, of course. You can ask students to design 6 or 8 comprehension question activities. So after they finish recording, they create comprehension activities. And again, you get them working, and that, guess what? That will become listening for the rest. So for the rest, it will be listening later on. And then students will answer the questions, okay? The rest of the class will answer the questions and post them on the platform, okay? I think I forgot saying here that once the student finished recording himself or herself and thinks of the question, they will share all that information with you, and you will upload it to your platform, okay? And you can have, for example, the lectures of the week. And because remember, we cannot be listening to 300 videos per week, we can say, okay, this week on Monday, Anita will give me a recording. On Tuesday, Pablitos is going to give me another recording. So you will have 5 recordings, and those are the 5 recordings that you will correct. During the following week, while more students are giving you recordings with questions, every single day you will upload one of their classmates' recordings that you corrected from the previous week. And this is how every single day students will have the opportunity of practicing listening. So again, and it's a solution for you. Okay. Tongue twister challenge. Now, you know that with this COVID, everything is about challenge. We had the toilet paper challenge with the footballers. So I think students are into the challenge thing. And the tongue twister is a nice challenge. So you can give students a tongue twister, okay, either in writing or recorded by you. So that's the challenge for you. Do you want to record yourself reading out loud a tongue twister? Okay, so you can give it to them, okay? It doesn't matter which version, whether written or spoken. Then you will ask students to record themselves saying it 3 times. Each time, students should read it a bit faster. That's the only condition, okay? In order to share the recording with you, I mean, it should be very obvious that the recording has 3 speed levels, okay? And the idea is that then you will ask students to look for other tongue twisters, okay? And to challenge, of course, any classmate, all right? Now, the only thing is that in order for you to challenge someone, you need to do it yourself, just like with footballers and the toilet paper challenge, okay? One did it, and the others have to do it and see if they can do it better or not, okay? I think this is a cool activity. This is a game kind of for them, and we know that tongue twisters are fantastic to work at the level of pronunciation as well, with minimal pairs, okay, and sound patterns. Now, the PowerPoint storytelling. What you're going to do is you're going to get students to create a PowerPoint slideshow to tell a story. Okay? Now, in order to create the PowerPoint, you're going to ask students to record a video of their computer screen with a slideshow of the PowerPoint as they tell the story. And look at this. This is a fantastic way for you to also integrate, if you use the comic tool that I recommended you, or the stories that they drew, okay, with the comics, what they can do is they can simply take pictures of that, and every single image will be a slide in the PowerPoint. They can use QuickTime Player, and with QuickTime Player, you assign the area of your screen that you want to be recorded, and they can be telling the story instead of now writing the story, the written version of the story. This can be an audio book, let's say, for that story. So they will be telling the story, but at this time, they can be just telling saying the dialogues, and they can play with tones of voices and making voices, or they can just go for the narrative. Once upon a time, there was a girl, blah, 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 blah. okay, and they move slides in the PowerPoint, and they record everything, and they end up with a video. And the cool thing, I don't know if you noticed, but all the speaking activities that I ask students to do is they are all speaking activities in which they don't need to record their faces. And I try to look for activities in which they don't record themselves, so that the images of minors are not online and parents cannot give you any trouble with that. Okay, in this case we will always be listening to their voices. Okay, so once they are done, you're going to tell students to post their videos in the class forum. Okay, again, together with some comprehension questions. Why? Because the idea is that the classmates will listen to that and will also answer the questions. But at this time, it will not just be listening, it will be a video, it will be animated, so it will be different. Okay, so I think this is cool. All these are activities that you can say, oh, this week I'm going to implement this activity, this week I'm going to implement this other activity. And if you look at it, you have activities, enough varied activities for more than, I would say, probably a month and a half, 2 months. Okay. The other activity, and I have 2 more to go. The other activity is recording coursebook tasks. Okay. We know that all the coursebooks have speaking activities. And we need the interaction, okay? I mean, speaking cannot just be at the monologue level. So we really need the interaction. And coursebooks have that. And if you paid attention, all the coursebooks in the speaking section, the good coursebooks in the speaking sections, they always model the activity, okay, that students are expected to produce with audio materials. So you're going to ask students, okay, to listen to this, okay, to do all the activities. But in the end, what they're going to do is you're going to tell them, it's like, okay, now we're going to send the audio material to the writer of the book, okay? So they are going to record themselves using their mobiles. It can be their mobiles, it can be WhatsApp. They can phone themselves through WhatsApp, okay? And they can use their voice notes in their mobile, and as they have the conversation going in WhatsApp, the voice notes in the phone is recording the conversation. When they finish, whoever is recording hangs up the WhatsApp call, stops the conversation, and then what they have to do is they need to upload that conversation on the platform. Now, that uploading should be through private messaging. So if you're using Google Classrooms, if you're using Schoology, if you're using Moodle, whatever you're using, through private message, because you really don't want everybody to listen to all the students' performance, okay? So this is assessment, that's for you. And again, you do it because it's interactive, so it's not that you need to listen one listening for recording per student that you have in the classroom. Okay, so I think this is cool. And the other activity is, and this is the last activity that I have for you today, is making a website of video ads, as a video ad. No, sorry. Making a website video ad. So basically what we are going to do is we are going to ask students to promote a website on video. Again, they will be using QuickTime Player, okay? We really don't want to see their faces. So this can be like a commercial, let's say, that they can see on the TV, where they generally see the images of a product or something. In this case, we can make them believe that they have been hired, okay, as marketing people, okay, to promote a website. So they're going to choose a website of their choice. Of course, my favorite website is the Richmond website, okay, and I'm going to make a video recommending this website, okay? So students are going to record themselves describing what the website is about, what features it has, describing special sections in the website, and giving their overall opinion. This is an adaptation of the blogs activity. Remember that it was the blog log activity, we gave them the log that they needed to complete, and then they recommended blogs to their classmates. This is an adaptation, but for websites. And kids are in websites all the time. They're websites for video games, websites for news, websites for videos. If it can be a YouTube channel, they can create a video describing a YouTube channel. If they follow a YouTuber, okay, they can create a version of that. And what they are going to do is the students are going to post the videos in the class forum, and at this time, classmates will just comment on it. Oh yeah, I also go into that website, or I had never seen it, and I love swimming, so that's really cool. So again, as you can see, all the activities were activities that have the student at the center. They are all personalized activities. They are activities that can integrate your coursebook and the material that is online. They are students that really facilitate our life. They are materials that keep students busy, but not busy in a useless way, busy so that they can be creating, let's say. All right, so my agenda for today, even though I exceeded time, was to discuss the advantages of teaching skills online, and I could get to cover that, and also to look into possible activities to implement using either the coursebook or online resources. And we all did it, and I'm impressed and extremely happy for the high number of people that stay online. And even though I exceeded time, just remember that these are difficult times. If we don't team up with your students, this will be a battle that we really will lose. It will be horrible to fight. So try to team up with students. Try to think of activities in which they become the creators and not simply the doers, okay? If we work together with students, we will have a better time, they will have a better time, and this will be a lot richer for either party. Okay, so thank you really so very much for your time here. I hope this had been of use. And now, I'm open to questions. Hime, I don't know how you want to do this. Okay, let me just drink some water in the meantime.
Yeah, no, I'm getting lots of thank yous, amazing webinars. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience. Not actual questions, lots of thank yous. You're fantastic, excellent. Thanks, Nico, it was a pleasure. You're probably seeing all that as well, no? So rather than questions, we're getting lots of thank yous. Indeed, Nico, it was really, really good. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much for finding the time to do
My pleasure.
It was really amazing. The activities were actually lots of fun just to listen to you explaining them. I can only imagine them in the classroom. So thank you. Thank you very much. No questions whatsoever. Rather, lots of your amazing, awesome material. Thanks.
I can read that. I can read that. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for staying. Thank you also for all the thank yous. Of course, I think that we teachers, we love sharing. I love sharing with my colleagues. I really hope that this can be a learning opportunity for all of us, not just for students. Remember that you can contact your Richmond rep, Hime. You can tell them about this. Okay.
Yeah, about the recordings, and we just want to ask you for patience for the certificates. You must understand that we have to produce thousands of them. So please be patient. When they are ready, you will be getting them to the email address you used to register for each session.